It's the Daily Deke with Tom Vecchio.
What's going on, and welcome to the Daily Deke. We have a 9-game NHL slate tonight. It starts at 7 o'clock. As always, this is one of the many shows on the FanDuel Podcast Network. You can find that anywhere, whether it's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. Make sure to give that a like, follow, or subscribe. That is greatly appreciated. And you can follow me on Twitter at DFS_Tom. Listen up, golf fans. FanDuel is a special free-to-play game centered around the PGA Tour events. Make golf prop picks on each final round of any PGA tournament on CBS for your chance to win a share of $5,000. Prior to the start of the final round, go on the FanDuel Sportsbook app and submit answers to all the game's prop questions. Answer the most correctly for a chance to win money prizes. Head over to FanDuel for the next PGA Tour event and pick some props for the final round. Age and location restrictions apply. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Payouts paid as non-withdrawable site credit that expires 7 days after receipt. For more information, visit www.fanduel.com/freegames/swing for the green. All right, let's get into this 9-game NHL slate. Looking to be a good one. Looking like we have a lot of teams that we want to be stacking, a lot of teams in good spots. Let's just jump right in. Starting off, the Maple Leafs are minus 176 home favorites hosting the Vegas Golden Knights, who are plus 146, a 6 over-under. The Philadelphia Flyers are massive minus 245 home favorites hosting the Arizona Coyotes, who are plus 198, a 5.5 over-under. The Montreal Canadiens are minus 150 at home hosting the Detroit Red Wings, who are only plus 125 on the road. 5.5 over-under. The Winnipeg Jets are minus 134 at home hosting the Stars, who are plus 112, a 5.5 over-under. The Flames are minus 154 at home hosting the Predators, who are plus 128, a 5.5 over-under. The Ducks are plus 105 at home hosting the Devils, who are minus 126. There's no total in this game. The Canucks are plus 100 at home hosting the Rangers, who are minus 120 on the road. No total in this game. The Sharks are minus 144 at home hosting the Sabres, who are plus 120. No total in this game, and there's no total or line set for the Ottawa at Minnesota game. I assume Minnesota will be favored. We do see Ottawa on the second night of a back-to-back. That's why we do not have the lines yet. Speaking of Ottawa, when it comes to their goalie situation, they already have Philip Gustafsson confirmed because they're on the second night of a back-to-back. We should see Cam Talbot in net for the Wild. When it comes to the other goalies, we should be seeing Carter Hart in net for the Philadelphia Flyers. We should be seeing Karl Velmaker in net for the Coyotes. It should be Peter Mrazek for the Maple Leafs, Robin Lehner for the Knights. Should be Thomas Greiss for the Red Wings. It could be Samuel Montembeault for the Canadiens. Something to keep an eye on. Should be Connor Hellebuyck for the Jets, Braden Holtby for the Stars, Jacob Markstrom for the Flames, UC Saros for the Predators, John Gibson for the Ducks, Scott Wedgwood for the Devils. Then for the night game or the West Coast games, we should be seeing Thatcher Demko for the Canucks. Probably, again, Igor Shesterkin for the Rangers, James Reimer for the Sharks, and then Dustin Tokarski for the Sabres. I think we're going to see a lot of scoring tonight. I think that the games that we see from scoring are going to be a lot of scoring. I think that we're going to see the favorites put up the scoring. I think there are going to be some lopsided games here. I think that the Leafs and the Flyers kind of stand out. The Leafs, I don't want to specifically talk about them tonight. I think that they are given. The Golden Knights, they lost who was their top line center, William Karlsson. I believe he broke his foot the other day. So now they're down Max Pacioretty, Mark Stone, William Karlsson. So taking 3 skaters out of their top 6. They're still without Alex Tuch. He started the season on IR. They're without Matthias Janmark. They're without Nolan Patrick. They're without Zach Whitecloud. Their roster is decimated by injuries. The Leafs have to win this game. Like, the Leafs, there's no chance the Leafs should be losing this game. The Leafs should be putting up 4 goals easily. They should be skating all over this team. It's just amazing about how many injuries Vegas is dealing with right now. So stack the Leafs tonight. Go to their top skaters. I don't want to talk about them specifically just because they're so clear on tonight's slate. I don't want to waste time there. I do want to talk about Philly. I think that they are obviously in a great spot going up against the Coyotes. Philly's a massive home favorite, saying a minus 245. They're the largest favorite on the slate. I think this is where we want to be starting. I also like Philly. I don't want to say that they're better than Toronto. Their offense is better than Toronto. That's not what I'm here to discuss. We're talking about Philly on a point per dollar basis, and they're just a little bit easier to stack compared to Toronto, who are that much more expensive, so stacking Philly is just a little bit easier, and then, thus a team I want to focus in on a little bit more. This is not to say I'm not going to have shares of Toronto when it comes to stacking, because I know I certainly will, because the matchup for them is so good going up against Vegas, but I want to be also having plenty of shares of Philly. Now, when it comes to the Flyers, on that first forward line, we see Claude Giroux, Sean Couturier, and Travis Konechny. That line is still fully correlated on the first power play. That's what we love to see. We don't want to see them mixing up their lines. We want as much correlation as possible. The fourth forward on that line, on that power play unit, I should say, is James Van Riemsdyk and Keith Yandle on defense. Sean Couturier is $7,600. Claude Giroux is $63. Travis Konechny is $5,500. JVR, if you decide to add him to the stack, is $44. And then Keith Yandle is $4,600. So really not super expensive overall, cheaper than going to Toronto and getting up to that top stack for them, with Matthews at $8,400, getting Mitch Marner at $68, John Tavares at $74, William Nylander at $68. That core four-man or so stack is so expensive. And you want to add in Morgan Riley on defense, he's $5,900. So you are getting an expensive stack no matter where you go for Toronto. Philly, just a little bit easier to stack into your lineups because of their salaries being slightly more affordable. And of course, it's a great matchup going up against the Arizona Coyotes. I think we can be firmly looking to attack them. I believe that they're still with the winless Arizona Coyotes, I should say. Yes, one of the worst teams in the league this season. Coming in with a 55.04 Corsi against, which is right around the league average. It's not super high, but we do see them allowing 3.03 goals against per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations, which is the second worst in the league. So not giving up an overwhelming amount of shot attempts, but they are giving up a ton of goals. And we do see them allowing 10.6 high danger chances against, which is the 14th worst in the league. So a defense that we can certainly look to attack, a defense that we have seen struggle, which is why I guess there is 0-8 to start the season. So certainly a spot that we can be looking. I think the Flyers and Toronto both should be very, very popular. They're both very chalky home favorites. Their goalies should be popular. Whoever might have in net. I think that we're going to see them as very popular. Now, when it comes to the rest of the slate, I have feelings on all of these games and teams. We could look to Detroit. I actually think that the Red Wings are a bit of a sneaky stack. They're on the road. They're they're road underdogs. But Detroit's been, as I said last week, Detroit's kind of playing well this year. Detroit over the past few seasons has been terrible. And this year, I don't expect Detroit to be amazing this year, but they're not terrible as they were last year. They're an average-ish team. So they've certainly taken a step forward, and Montreal has been horrible to start the season. So I kind of like Detroit as an option tonight. I think you look to them in GBPs, I doubt that they'll be popular. That's number one. Number two, Winnipeg, they could be getting, or they should be getting, both Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler back into their lineup. They are both out of the league's COVID protocol. They both should be good to go. Believe that they were technically available to play, or they were out of the protocol. They could have played on Saturday, but they just both weren't ready to play. It's been a few days. They both should be good to go. They're back at home, minus 134 against the Stars. So getting that first power play to get back together with Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, Kyle Connor, Ehlers on that. I assume he'll still be there. And then Neil Pionk on defense. It's not the easiest matchup against the Stars, but they should not be popular. Hopefully they get the offense going with everyone back together. So kind of like this, the Jets tonight going up against the Stars. That's one note. Also think that we should be looking to Minnesota tonight. Obviously, the matchup against Ottawa is absolutely elite. Ottawa, one of the worst teams in the league. We look to the Senators and are allowing a 61.05 Corsi against per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations. That's the third worst in the league. Giving up way too many shots has been their MO over the past few seasons. We see them allowing 2.48 goals against per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations, which is the 10th worst in the league. They're also giving up a lot of high danger chances against, and that is something we want to continuously look to attack. Teams that are giving up a lot of shot attempts from close to the net, the high goal scoring areas. The Senators are giving up the sixth most in the league right now, sitting at 12.21 per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations. So yes, looking to Minnesota tonight is a spot that I think a lot of people will be looking. Again, we do not have the game lines or totals for this because Ottawa is on the second night of a back-to-back, so nothing's posted yet, but certainly looking to stack Minnesota tonight. And that probably means going to their first forward line, second forward line parts of it, depending on what they have for their first power play. We do see Matt Zuccarello in the league's COVID protocol, so he is not with the team, which means the first power play now has Joel Eriksson, Kevin Fiala, Kirill Kaprizov, Frederick Gaudreau, and Jared Spurgeon. We do not have full correlation among this line. Normally, Zuccarello is on that first forward line, and we do have full correlation. We do not have that anymore. We have a 2-2 split. Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson on the first forward line. Kevin Fiala and Frederick Gaudreau on the second, all together on that first power play. Add in Jared Spurgeon on defense, and we're looking at a great four-man stack going up against Minnesota, a spot we can certainly look to attack. But more importantly, it's affordable. Joel Eriksson, $4,800. Frederick Gaudreau, $3,700. Yes, Kaprizov is expensive at $7,000. Fiala is $5,700. He's not overly expensive. And Jared Spurgeon is $4,700. So one skater above $6,000, two skaters above $5,000 when it comes to the first power play stack for what will be a home favorite. Minnesota, again, the lines aren't listed, but Minnesota will be a home favorite going up against the Ottawa Senators. So I know I will certainly be looking to Minnesota tonight. I think that they pair well with a lot of other teams. I think you can use Minnesota as a bit of a secondary stack because they're not overwhelmingly expensive. I kind of like pairing them with Philly if the salaries work, and we can pair them off with Toronto. That would be great. I think that there are a number of options of how we should be looking to approach roster construction tonight. Calgary has also been hot to start the season. I think you can look to them against Nashville. Not going to specifically touch on them. New Jersey and Anaheim is a matchup that I think could go overlooked just because both teams are viewed as being, quote unquote bad, which is true, but just that doesn't mean that there's not like fantasy value there, right? Where taking some one-offs in that game, I wouldn't hate to do. Jack Hughes, of course, is on IR for the Devils. Ricard Raquel and Jakob Silfverberg are on IR or both out for Anaheim. So maybe taking, just a one-off of Trevor Zegras, I think is fine. Dougie Hamilton, of course, brings plenty of upside on his own. You can look to him as a one-off. Wouldn't hate taking a shot with even Troy Terry, Nico Hischier, whoever it might be. I think that there's some fantasy value in this game. Both defenses are certainly not good. We could say that the offenses on both sides aren't amazing. So it's like, what's going to shine through? Are the bad defenses going to be at the forefront, and then, each team is going to be able to, grab a few goals just because the defense is so bad? Or are both teams, lack of offense going to be apparent, and I don't know, some team's going to win this game? Either team's just going to win this game, 2-1, and it's going to be pretty lackluster overall. That's realistic. I also think that taking a one-off of Dougie Hamilton and him getting, 3 shots, 4 shots, whatever, it's going to be a couple block shots, and picking up the assist or, a goal and an assist is also realistic. And especially at this game, these teams are not going to be popular. I'll be looking there as well. You could also kind of say the same thing about Buffalo and San Jose. I think that's a decent game to do somewhat of the same. Just look for a couple one-offs. A couple, maybe a 2-man stack from Buffalo. I'd have a little bit more interest in Buffalo than San Jose, just again, hoping that they're not as popular as other teams. That's why I think that this slate is really interesting where, Philly, Toronto, and I expect Minnesota to be large favorites in terms of the money line. These are clear teams to stack. All great matchups. I know Vegas is viewed as, over the past few seasons, they've been viewed as a good team, which I still think they are. They've just obviously been hit with so many injuries. It's tough to say that they're bad or good right now just because they're not playing remotely close to full strength. So Toronto, Philly, Minnesota are all probably going to be chalk tonight, as they should be. But this doesn't mean that we can't look to a few options from Detroit because the Canadiens have been so weak. We can't look to maybe a few options from Winnipeg because their offense should be back at full strength. Calgary has been super hot to start the season. And, a matchup against Nashville isn't amazing, but it's also not terrible. New Jersey could have a few options. Buffalo could have a few options. And, seeing multiple options from every game is not something that we have on every slate, where sometimes we could just cross games off the list where, I have a little bit of interest in a lot of these teams tonight. And, ultimately, going to have to pare this list down, want to have a condensed player pool, can't be having exposure to everyone, of course. You want to keep a tight player pool, tight player allocation. And then we also have the Rangers-Canucks game here, and this is a spot that I also want to attack. We have the Canucks, who I want to say look decent to start the season. Right now, they're only allowing 1.99 goals against per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations. That's 17th in the league, so they are slightly better than the league average. But of course, we want to not only look to how many goals they are allowing, but how many goals they should be allowing. And in this case, the Canucks should be allowing more. So again, 1.99 goals against right now, 17th in the league. If we look to their expected goals against, which takes into account not only the shot attempts, but the quality of the shot attempts, the Canucks should be allowing 2.43. So they're slightly, almost half a goal better than the expected goals that they should be allowing. 1.99 to 2.3. So let's call it 2.0 to 2.4. So they're almost, they're better by about half a goal. And that puts them to 2.43 expected goals against per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations, puts them at 11th worst in the league. So they go from being, a slightly league-ish better, or league average slightly better than that, just right around there, to 11th in the league, which is essentially a bottom third defense. They're giving up a decent amount of shot attempts overall, sitting at 54.54 per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations, but they're giving up a lot of high danger chances. And they're the 8th worst in the league when it comes to the number of high danger chances, sitting at 12.07. So they're giving up, a bottom 10 amount of high danger chances, and they're giving up around the league average when it comes to total shot attempts allowed. And they're better than the league average when it comes to goals allowed. But that doesn't tell the full story. We need to be looking to their expected goals allowed. So they should be worse than they are. They are due for some regression. So this is where buying into this matchup should be beneficial. And I said the same thing about the Ducks a couple weeks ago at this point, where I said the Ducks were outperforming their goals against, and they should be giving up more goals, and they were top 10 in the league when it comes to the fewest goals allowed, and their expected goals against was so high, and that expected goals against had them as one of the worst teams in the league. Well, the Ducks right now are allowing 2.76 goals against per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations. That's the 6th worst in the league. They've gone from better than the league average to the 6th worst team in the league because they were due for all this regression. And their expected goals against right now is sitting at 2.75. So they are 2.76 is actual and 2.75 is their expected. So they had all this negative regression. And I said this when they played, Minnesota, when they played the Jets. It's like we don't necessarily want to buy in not only tonight, but we want to buy in on the next matchup. So we want to buy in tonight on the Rangers going up against the Canucks. And whoever the Canucks play against, in 2 days or 3 days, whenever their next game is, we also want to buy in there because they're due for some regression. We want to buy in now early before they're actually a bad defense on paper. Before everyone else figures it out, we want to buy in against the Canucks now. So going to the Rangers, going to that first power play, Chris Kreider, Ryan Strome, Artemi Panarin, Mika Zibanejad, and Adam Fox. That is where we want to be going. Stacking the 2-2 split between Kreider and Zibanejad on the first, Panarin and Strome on the second. I think that's a great 4-man stack. If you want to take either of those 2-man stacks and add in Adam Fox, who just got a big contract extension on Monday, you want to add him in there. A 3-man stack, that's fine. If you want to go just the first forward line and add in Fox, just the second forward line and add in Fox, all of those are on the table. We are buying into attacking the Canucks. So if the Rangers win this game 2-1, or they lose this game 2-1, or they lose this game 3-1, they win this game 3-1, it does not matter. We're buying and attacking the Canucks, and whenever the Canucks play again, I guarantee I will be talking about whatever team that they are playing, and we want to buy in there because they're not going to continuously outperform their expected goals against if they're giving up a bottom 10 in the league when it comes to high danger chances allowed. They simply cannot give up this many shot attempts from that close to the goal and not give up goals. So we bought in against the Ducks. We're going to buy in against the Canucks, and wherever the team might be next week or later in the week or in a month, we're going to continuously buy in early and attack that team. It's the same thing when we see pitchers in MLB DFS who are giving up all this hard contact and they're giving up all these fly balls, but they don't, have a high number of home runs allowed. We sit here and say, when we're looking at these metrics, say this pitcher is getting lucky in some capacity. You can't give up this many fly balls and this much hard contact and not allow home runs. You are due for some massive, massive regression. Those home runs are going to start to come. The goals for the opposing teams against the Canucks are going to start to come. We're buying it against the Rangers. I think that they make also a good secondary stack if you want to go to their third forward line, to Filipino, Alexis Lafreniere, and Sammy Blais. I think all of those are great options. Really 6-ish forwards we can be looking to. You want to add in the secondary defender on the power play unit, the second power play unit, Keandre Miller. That's also fine. So Toronto, Philly, Minnesota, really heavy home favorites. That's where we're going to be starting stacks with. I think the Red Wings, I think the Jets, I think the Flames are really interesting in tournaments tonight because they shouldn't be as popular as those other heavy home favorites. And then buying into whoever happens to be playing the Canucks, and tonight that happens to be the Rangers. All right, so that does it for today's podcast. As always, we can be found on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. Make sure to give it a like, follow, or subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at DFS_Tom. Until next time, good luck in your contest.